Hello guys, so today let us discuss about flowcharts in Python, and today let us see how to solve a small problem, right? The problem is finding the smallest number from 10 input numbers, right? So let us develop a small program. First let us draw the flowchart, have the pseudocode, then let us write the Python code. So this problem is finding the minimum number, right? Out of 10 input numbers which the user is going to input, right? So that's the problem. So let us work on it, how to solve it. Okay, right. So finding the minimum number out of 10 input numbers. So first let us draw the flow chart, right? Let us draw the flow chart. So first I wanted you guys to pause the video and try drawing the flow chart. Then once you're done, you can watch the video, right? So let me draw the flow chart now. So first let us start. So start, let's have the start. Okay. Then let us take the input from the user, right? Let us take the input from the user. So let us say input the number n, right? Input the number n. Put the number n. Right. So then let us move forward. So next, so now we are going to assign two variables, right? So let us take one variable as min, and let us now what the user inputs here, right? The user is going to input. The user is going to input the number n, right? The user is going to input a number, and we are going to assign that number, right, as the minimum number for the moment. Okay. So let me say min assignment n. Min assignment n. Right. So min assignment n. And let us assign for the count as 1. Let us take the count as 1. Okay. Min assignment n. And also let us declare another variable, count assignment 1, right? Count assignment 1. Now you can draw this flowchart according to your wish, any method, anyway, in the any way you can draw the flowchart. If the logic is correct, right, you will be given marks, right? So I am drawing this flowchart according to my logic. Okay. Right. So here the simple thing what I have done up to now here, I am taking an input from the user, right? I am taking input from the user. I'm taking input from the user. So the user will be inputting the number, that number as n, right? So the number which the user inputs, right? The number which the user inputs, right? I am going to assign that number which the user inputs as the minimum number for the moment. For the moment, okay? And I am going to assign 1 for the count variable. I'm going to assign the value 1 for the count variable. Right. Now let us move forward. So now, so I'm going to have a repetition. So here, we are going to check whether is count less than 10, because we are going to find the minimum number out of 10 numbers which the user is going to input. Okay, so let's see, right, is count less than 10, is count less than 10. See whether is count less than 10. So now we are going to check whether is count less than 10. Then if it is so, the count is less than 10, then we are going to move forward, right? We are going to move forward. We are going to say input 10, okay? We're going to say input 10. Right, so or else if the count is not less than 10, we are going to say no, and we are going to say output me. We are going to say no, and we are going to output me. Okay. So once we started to, right, so once we started to hand trace this flowchart, we'll be understanding the logic very clearly, right? Right. Now let me output the mean. If it is no, we are going to output mean. Right. So now let us see. We need to make a small selection here in this scenario after this. Okay. So let us see how to do that. Now we are going to see whether is n less than mean. So is n less than mean. So we are going to see whether is n less than mean. Okay, is n less than mean. Right. Suppose if the n is less than mean, okay, suppose the n is less than mean, so simply what we are doing here is, so first the user will input a number, right? So the number the user input will be assigned to the variable mean, will be assigned to the variable mean. Then if the count, we are going to assign 1, then we are going to check whether the count is less than 10. So 1 is less than 10, then it comes inside the loop. Then we are going to take another input. Why we are taking another input? So you need to understand this in a logical manner. You must think why it's required to take another input, because we are going to find the minimum number out of 10 input numbers, not finding the minimum number out of one number. That is the reason we need to take another input. So now we have taken input as n. So now we are going to check whether the input, the user input now, currently, just now, we are going to check whether that input is less than the minimum. That means first the user input one, right? So the first, whatever the user input has been assigned to me, right? That is the minimum for the moment. Now the user inputs the second number. So if the second number is smaller than the previous assigned number to the mean, so what must be the smaller number? Mean assignment n. So this n must be the minimum number now. Up to now, that's the logic, okay? So let us see. So if it is years, we can say it is years, right? Min assignment n. If it is years, min assignment n. So here I'm going to say min assignment n. Min assignment n. Right. Suppose, right? Suppose if this n is not less than min, then what we need to do? Then nothing to do actually. Then nothing to do in the sense, of course, you need to come out of the if, and you need to increase the count by 1. So count assignment count plus 1. Count assignment count plus 1 in that scenario. So even if it is yes or even if it is no, we need to increase the count by 1. So count assignment count plus 1. Right. So now we are going to move forward. Okay. We are coming here. Okay. Right. So now before writing the pseudocode, let us hand trace this flowchart and see for the accuracy, okay? Let's hand trace and see for the accuracy. Right. So this is the flowchart that I have drew to find the minimum number out of 10 input numbers, right? So first I have start, then input the number as n. So the number which the user inputs at the first number has been assigned to the variable min. Then we are assigning for the count variable 1, count assignment 1. Then we are checking whether the count is less than 10. If the count is less than 10, then we are going to take another input from the user. If not, we are going to output the min number. So we are going to take the input n, and again we are going to check whether the second input is less than the first input. In that case, the min is going to be the n, this n, which the user input as the second n. Whether it is yes, or no, anyhow, you need to increase the count by 1, right? Count assignment, count plus 1. Then we are coming again here. Then count is going to be 2 now. Now count is going to be 2. So to be more clear on this, let us try to hand trace this flowchart. Let us hand trace this flowchart. Now, if there are 10 numbers to check whether a flowchart is correct, right? To check whether a flowchart is correct, if there are 10 numbers, do you need to hand trace all the 10 numbers? Then in your final exam, if you get like 1,000 numbers, are you going to hand trace for the entire 1,000 numbers? No, understand the logic. Now we'll test only 3 numbers. We'll test only 3 numbers. So if the logic for 3 numbers is working correctly, my dear, for the logic for the 100 numbers or 1,000 numbers also must work correct, right? Isn't it? So now let us try for 3 numbers. Okay, first of all. So at the initial stage, we have first we have the mean, right? We have the variable mean. Then we have the variable count. We have the variable count. Then we have the variable, mean. We have and count. Okay. Now let us and also n input n. Yeah, n is there. Fine. Okay. So now let us see. Now we imagine, right? Okay, the flow is starting. Let us start the work now. Hand trace. Let us start hand trace. Hand trace with me. Right. So start in the start. Okay. Right. Input the number in. So when the message is given, input the number in. We'll imagine the user is going to input 10. Not 10. Let imagine that the user is going to input 20. The user is going to input 20. Now that 20 will be assigned. That 20 will be assigned to the variable mean. So now our variable will be having the value 20. The variable mean will be having the value 20. And count assignment 1. So now the count is 1. And we are coming below and we are checking whether count is less than 10. My dear, is 1 less than 10? Is 1 less than 10? Obviously, right? 1 is less than 10. So if 1 less than 10, what we are going to do? We are going to give another message to the user to input n, another number, right? So let us see. So now we imagine that the user is going to input 10. Now the user is going to input 10. Now it's coming below and we are going to check whether n is less than mean. Whether n is less than mean. So input n, right? So n is less than mean. So now inside the n, in n we are having what? 10. N we are having 10. Input 10, right? Now we are going to check whether the n is less than mean. Now look here, at the moment the n is 10. At the moment the n is 10. And at the moment the mean is how much? Mean is 20. Mean is 20. How much? N is 10 and mean is 20. Now I'm asking a question from you. Is n less than mean? Is n less than mean? Yes, obviously the n is less than mean. Then if it is so, what you are going to do? If it is so, you are going to assign the n's value inside the mean. Inside the mean, you are going to assign the n's value. Then now inside mean, what will you have? 20? No, you are going to have 10. You are going to have 10. You are going to have 10. Clear? Up to now? Up to now clear? Right. So now it's coming up. It's coming up. And we are going to increase the count by 1. Count assignment count plus 1. At the moment, inside the variable, we are having count assignment 1. So when you increase by 1, the count is going to be 2. The count is going to be 2. Okay, fine. And it's coming up. It's coming up. And again, falling into this logic. And now we are going to see, is count less than not 10? Because I told we are going to check 3 numbers, right? We are not mad to check the if there are 1,000 numbers, are you going to check 1,000 numbers? No, if the logic for 3 numbers is working correctly, the logic for 1,000 numbers also must work correctly, isn't it? So so now we'll say I'm going to just make an assumption that the count is less than 3. Let us, for the moment, let us make the count is less than 3. Okay. So then now the count is 2. Now the count is 2 because you can see inside the variable, in the variable count, the value is 2. Is 2 less than 3, my dear? Is 2 less than 3? Yes, 2 is less than 3. Okay, then what? Then what? Yes, so if the 2 is less than 3, input n. So another message will be given to the user to input n. Now we'll imagine now the user is going to input 0. Now the user is going to input not 0, let's say like 30. User is going to input 30, right? So now it's going to check whether 30 is less than whether n. So inside n now what you are having, not 10. Now inside n you are going to have 30. Now inside n you are going to have 30. Now we are going to check whether 30 is less than min. Now we are going to check what? Whether 30 is less than min. Why? Inside the min variable now we are having 10 now. So we are going to check whether n. So first of all n, we are going to check whether n is less than min. So how much is n at the moment? N is 30 and min is 10. So is 30 less than 10? No, 30 is not less than 10. Then what you need to do? No means what? No means nothing to do. Anyhow, you need to increase the out of the, if you are having, anyhow you need to increase the count by 1. Then count assignment count plus 1. At the moment the count is 2. So once you add 1 for to how much? Count is going to become 3. Count is going to become 3. Then we are coming above. Right, then we are going to check whether is count less than 3. So I told we are going to check only 3 numbers. I changed for the moment the count as 3. So we are going to check whether now inside the count variable we are having the value 3. We are going to check whether 3 is less than 3. Is 3 less than 3? 3 is not less than 3 because 3 is equal to 3. Then you are going to output min. So if the user inputs 20, 10, and 30 as 3 numbers. So what is the minimum number out of these 3? We know it's 10. We know it's 10. And look inside the min variable. Inside the min variable, what is the value do you have? What value do you have? You have 10. You have 10. So our logic is working correctly, isn't it? Our logic is working correctly. So this is the logic that you need to understand when you are developing any kind of problem of maybe a big problem in Python. Doesn't matter. Understand the logic, draw the flowchart, draw the pseudocode, write down the pseudocode, then you can code easily, right? So if the logic for 3 numbers is working correctly, the logic for 10 numbers also should work correctly. So anyhow, let me also to explain, let me also teach you with 10 numbers, right? So if you're having 1,000 numbers, you no need to hand 3,000 numbers. The logic for 5 or 3 numbers is working correctly. Then for the 1,000 numbers also, it must work correctly, isn't it? So let us now, so let me explain, but anyhow, for you guys, for 10 numbers, how to do that, right? Okay, 8, right. So what we had here is output, I mean, also we need to have the end, okay? Oh, don't forget that output mean. Finally, we need to end the flowchart, right? We need to end the flowchart. Don't forget that as well. So we are going to end. Right, so now suppose the count was not less than 3, but if the count is less than 10, then here, at the moment we know the count is 3, at the moment we know the count is 3, so we are going to check whether 3 is less than 10. Yes, 3 is less than 10, it comes below, then we are going to take, say the user to input another number. Now we think that the user is going to input 40, the 40, user is going to input 40, right? So now in n we will be having 40. So in the n variable we will be having 40, not 30. Right. Now we are coming below. We are coming below. Right. We are coming below, and we are checking whether n is less than min. So we know inside n what do you have inside n? Inside n you have 40, which the user input at the last. Okay, is 40. Which the user input just now, 40. And now we are going to check whether that 40 is less than the value inside the variable. So what is the value inside the variable? 10. My dear, is 40 less than 10? No. If no, what you are going to do, count assignment, count plus 1. So no, you don't have anything to do here. Yes or no, anyhow you need to increase the count by 1. So now the count is 3. So once you add 1 for 3, it's going to be 4. It's going to be 4. Very simple, but it's going to be 4, but it's going to be 4. Right. Somewhat clear, right? Otherwise, it will be right, like a fruit salad, right? So now, we know the count is 4, so it's coming up, and going to check whether 4 is less than 10. Is 4 less than 10? Yes. Then coming down and asking the user to input another value. So let's imagine the user is going to input now 35. Let's imagine now the user is going to input 35. So now inside n we will be having 35, and now we are going to check whether n, the n is less than min. So now inside n variable we are having the value 35, and inside the min variable we are having the value what? 10. Yeah, 10. So now we are going to check whether n is less than min. Yes, 35 is less than min, right? 35 is less than 10. Sorry, wait, what did I say? No, sorry. What is this? Sorry. So let me make the correction there. So we told that the user inputs 35 now, right? Sorry, the user inputs 35 now. Okay, 35. Once the user input 35, inside the n variable, we will be having the value 35. Inside the n variable, we will be having the value 35. We are going to check whether the n is less than min. We are going to check whether the n is less than min. N is less than min. So n we have 35 and min we have 10. Is 35 less than 10? No, 35 is not less than 10. So in that case, what you are going to do, increase count by 1. Right, again I am saying whether yes or no, anyhow you need to increase the count by 1. Okay. So it's out of the if only you have this count assignment count plus 1. So now count is going to be 5. Count is going to be 5. That's the only change that's going to be take place, right? Count assignment 5, right? So because, and also check how many numbers now we have input. We have input 20, 30, 10, 40, and 35. 5 numbers we have input. Right now, coming here, we know count is 5. So is 5 less than 10? Yes, 5 is less than 10. 5 is less than 10. So coming below and asking the user to input another number. Now let us see the user is going to input 5. User is going to input 5 as the number. So now inside n we will be having 5. Inside the variable n we are going to have 5, And we are going to check. We are going to check with the n we have 5, and inside the mean variable we have 10. Inside the mean variable we are having 10. We are going to check whether the 5 is less than 10. We are going to check whether the 5 is less than 10. Yes, 5 is less than 10. Yes means what you need to do. Inside the minimum variable, you need to assign the value of n. So now inside the variable n, what is the value do you have? 5. So this 5 you need to assign. The n must be assigned to the mean. So now the mean is not 10, the mean is 5. The mean is 5. Right, 5. Then what you are going to do? Then increase the count by 1. So count now 5. After you increase the 5 by 1, now the count is going to be 6. Now the count is going to be 6. Right. Now the count is going to be 6. And now we can move forward to the flowchart upwards, right? We have increased the count by 1. And now let us see, it's coming here. And now we are going to check whether is 6 less than 10. Yes, 6 is less than 10. Then of course, we are going to input another number, right? So now in this case, let us imagine the user is going to input 60. So then inside n you will be having not 5 now, 60. And you are going to check whether 60 is less than mean. So you are going to check whether n is less than mean. N is less than mean. You are going to check whether the n is less than mean. So n you have 60. N you have 60 and mean you have 5. Inside the minimum mean variable you have 5. So is 60 less than 5? No. No means anyhow you need to increase the count by 1. So 6 plus 1 is going to be 7. 6 plus 1 is going to be 7. Then again coming upward. Then coming to here. Then we are going to check whether is 7 less than 10. Yes, 7 is less than 10. We are saying the user to input another number. So now let's imagine the user is going to input 2. So now the user has input 2. So now at the moment we are going to have 2 as for the n, 2 for the n. Right. 2 for the n. Then now we are going to check whether 2, the n is less than mean. So mean at the moment is 5. At the moment is 5. So now inside the mean variable we have 5. Now we are going to check whether 2 is less than 5. Yes. So yes means the n's value you need to assign for the mean. So what's the n's value? 2. Now this 2 needs to be assigned to the mean. That means now what's going to be the minimum value? Mean is going to be 2, not 5. 2, not 5. So 2. Right, 2. Right. Then we are going to increase the count by 1. Then the 7 is going to become 8. 7 is going to become 8. Right. 7 is going to become 8. Then again we are going to check whether 8 is less than 10. We are going to check whether 8 is less than 10. Yes, it is less than 10. Then we are giving the opportunity for the user to input another number. Now we'll imagine the user is going to input 70. So now we are going to check whether n is less than mean. So n is 70. N is 70. N is 70. We are going to check whether, and inside the mean variable now we have 2. We are going to check whether 70 is less than 2. 70 is not less than 2. Then you need to increase the count by 1. So at the moment the count is 8. So now 8 plus 1 is going to be 9. 8 plus 1 is going to be 9. And now we are going to check is 9 less than 10. Is 9 less than 10? Yes, 9 is less than 10. Okay, then we are saying user, okay, input another number. So user is going to input 0 now. User is going to input 0 now. So we are going to check. So in n we are going to have 0 now. N is going to become 0. Now we are going to check whether n is 0 and min is 2. At the inside the variable mean we are having the value 2. So we are going to check whether 0 is less than 2. Yes, 0 is less than 2. Then for the mean we are going to assume the assign the value of n. So the value of n is 0. So now the mean is going to be 0. You are going to increase the count by 1. So 9 plus 1 is going to be 10. 9 plus 1 is going to be 10. 10, right? It's going to be 10. Then you are coming upward and you are going to check whether 10 is less than 10. 10 is not less than 10. 10 is equal to 10. As 10 is not less than 10. Yes, 10 is not less than 10. So no. 10 is not less than 10. 10 is equal to 10. So as 10 is not less than 10, you are going to output the mean. So inside the variable mean, what is the value you have? 0. then what will be output? 0 will be output, guys. 0 will be output as the minimum number. So what are the, now it's time for us to see what are the numbers the user has input. So the user has input 20. So this is one number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The user has input 21, 30, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So user has input 10 numbers. So the 10 numbers are 20, 30, 10, 40, 35, 5, 60, 2, 70, and 0. So out of 20, 30, 10, 40, 35, 5, 62, 70, 0, what is the minimum number? 0. So we got the correct output. Our logic is working correct. Now, I no need to explain how to hand trace for 10 numbers also. I told you the logic. If the logic is working correctly for 3 numbers, so you change by your mind. You change this count to 3. By your mind, my dear, you change the count to 3 and check passing the value for 3 numbers and check whether it's working correctly. So if it is working correctly for 3 numbers, maybe for 10 numbers, 10,000 numbers, any numbers, the logic, if it's working for 3 numbers correct, then for any numbers also it must work correct. But for anyhow, for your learning purpose, I explain the entire, right, how to find the minimum number out of 10 input numbers for the this one, right, and the entire logic I explained, right. Now it's the time I have explained the logic and also done with the hand tracing for the 10 numbers. So now it's the time for us to write down the pseudocode, right. So we are moving to our interesting thing, the Python. Before coming to Python, let us write down the pseudocode, right. So coding is interesting, okay. Nothing to memorize in coding, only understand the logic and do whatever you can program any kind of problems. You can solve any kind of problems there. Right, so so we have start here. We have start. So I'm going to say begin in our pseudocode. I'm going to write the pseudocode begin. Then we can say input. So then we have input, right? So then we can say input number as n, input number as n. Then I am going to, as we have in the flowchart, okay, we have min assignment n. So here also I'm going to say min assignment n. Then we have count assignment 1 according to the flowchart. Then here also count assignment 1. Okay. And now here is the problem, right? Now what? Now if I ask this, what is this? Is this selection or repetition? And if I ask this, is this selection or repetition? Now here sometimes you may be confusing, right? But here let me save the logic, right? So you may think sometimes you may say that is selection. As because you have the diamond shape for everything, you can't say that every time it is going to be selection. No, for the repetition also we are using the same shape, right? We must be very crystal clear on that. Now here you need to be clear. I am going to teach you a logic which is deciding the end of the flowchart. That means until the condition is satisfied, you are repeating. Once the condition is satisfied, you are coming out of the loop. So which one is doing that? Which one is deciding the end of the loop, right? In what is repetition? Until the condition is satisfied, you are repeating. So once the condition is satisfied, you are coming out of the loop, right? You can end the flowchart. Then which is deciding the end of the flowchart? Is that this or is that this? So we know obviously it's going to be this. Is count less than 10? That is what deciding the end of the loop, isn't it? So until the count is being less than 10, you are repeating, but once the count is not less than 10, you are coming out of the loop and ending the flowchart. So what is repetition? So this is going to be the repetition. This is going to be the repetition, right? So you need to be very clear on that, right? You need to be very clear on that. So in this flowchart, you have all the 3 control structures. Now sequence is there. Now sequence you will be having in every flowchart. It's not a unique control structure. In every flowchart, you will be having sequence. step by step of solving the procedures. Now in this flowchart, you have repetition, right? So sequence, selection, and repetition. So this is going to be repetition, and this is n less than mean. This is selection. This is selection because that is not deciding the ending of the flowchart, right? Selection. So therefore, you need to say here count assignment 1, and you need to say as because it is repetition, you can say while, right? Wait, while count less than 10, while count less than 10, then you can say, so while count less than 10, what we are doing in the flowchart, we are going to input n. So here also we write down same thing. So here you are going to say input number as n. Then you have a, then what you have, then selection. So selection means what you need to use. So this is selection. What you see, we are going to check whether n is less than mean. That is selection. So selection means you can say if n less than mean, if n less than mean, then what you need to do, you need to assign the n value for the mean. You need to assign the n value for the mean. Then mean assignment n, right? No means you don't have nothing to do, right? Now in this scenario, yes also you are assigning increasing the count by 1. No also you are increasing the count by 1. This count assignment count plus 1 is out of the if, right? Not here. Here you don't have anything to do, right? No means nothing to do, right? Right? No means here you don't have nothing to do. Yes, for both yes and no, you have count assignment count plus 1. That means even if you say yes, or even if the flowchart flows in the yes direction, or even if the flowchart flows in the no direction, anyhow you need to increase the count assignment count plus 1. But for the no means, specifically we don't have nothing to do. Therefore, I'm going to end the if function from here. End the if function from here. Okay. End if, then I am going to assign count assignment count plus 1. Why? This is common for both, because even yes or no, anyhow you need to increase the count by 1. Count assignment count plus 1, right? Moving forward, then we can end the while. So I'm right, this is pseudocode, right? End while, then we can print the mean, right? Print mean. So this is what print mean, right? Print mean, wait, print mean, then finally you can end the pseudocode by saying end, okay, right, done. So flowchart done, pseudocode done. Now let's move on to our interesting thing, that is what? That is Python code, right? Now if you have the flowchart and if you have the pseudocode, writing the Python is not a big deal, okay? It's very easy. Understanding the logic is the key when it comes to programming, and you must be able to draw the graphical representation in a flowchart. So if you can draw the flowchart correctly, and if you can write down the pseudocode, then writing the Python code is not a big issue, right? Big deal. It's not a big deal. So now let us see that. So now I'm going to open my Python application. Right. So currently I am in the Python. So let me take a new file. Let me save that. Give me, save that. And let me give the name as min.py. Min.py, right. So now you guys can see the screen. So now it's the time for us to write down the Python or Python code. So we have the flowchart. You can refer to our flowchart as pseudocode as well. So here we have begin input number as n. So now when it comes to the Python code, I have already done a previous video. So those who haven't watched, please watch it first before watching this. Right, so I'm going to take an input from the user, and in the previous class I have taught that how to take an integer input. Okay, right, so here I'm going to say in assignment int, we need to int integer, because by default Python takes the input in string. I have explained that in the previous video. If anyone has missed that, please watch it. Then come to this input, then input number. We are going to say input number, right. So we are going to give a message to the user to input the number. Then we are going to assign the number which the user input inside the variable called min. So min assignment n, and we are going to declare another variable as count. And when we are declaring variables in Python, you must be careful, because that means if you Python is case sensitive. So if you give capital simple after in every course, when you refer to the same variable, you need to make sure that you give the same spelling. Okay, whether it's lowercase or uppercase. So count assignment 1. In our flowchart also, in our pseudocode also, same. See, look here. Here also we have input, but the coding is somewhat different. That means the term how we take the input in the Python. So min assignment n, count assignment 1. Then we have the repetition here. So let me have the Python code for that. So in assignment integer min count assignment 1. So I'm going to say while count less than 10, while count less than 10. So we know what to do. So if you have the flowchart, let me share the flowchart and pseudocode. So you need to do these steps. Is less than 10. So let us write the Python code for that. Then what you need to do? Then you need to take another input from the user in assignment integer input number. Right? Give a message to the user input number. Right. Now we are having the selection, right? We are having the selection. So you can see here we are having the selection. If n less than min. So in Python code, just write the Python code for that. So if n is less than min, then min assignment n, right? And we know if it is not, we don't have nothing to do, right? So here, when you come to your pseudocode and the flowchart, if n is less than min, then min assignment n. Else you don't have nothing to do, right? But whether it's yes or no, anyhow you need to increase the count by 1. So let us see how to write the code for that. Python code. So then I'm coming down and coming here. Then count assignment count plus 1. Count plus 1, because if it is yes or no, anyhow you need to increase the count by 1. Then I can say print minimum number is mean. So let us try running this code. Okay, let me save this. Right, so before inputting the numbers, let us take the same numbers which we gave as the input for the flowchart and pseudocode. So what is the first number here? 20. Then we have 20, we gave first number, then 30, then 10, then 40, then 35, then 5, then 60, then we gave 20, 70, then finally we gave 0. So 21, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 20 is 1, 30 is 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So altogether 10 numbers we have input and we have got the minimum number as 0. So let us see how to do that in the Python. That means we give the same values which we gave for the pseudocode and flowchart. Okay, right. And it's now you guys can see that it is asking for the user to input a number. So let us say the same number which we gave. So let me give 20. After 20 we give 30, then 10, then 40, then 35, then 5, then 60, then we give 2, then 70, and finally we give 0. Now see, once we have input all the 10 numbers, we are getting the minimum number is 0. So our coding is successful. We have coded, we have drawn the flowchart correctly, we have written the pseudocode correctly, and our Python code is also correct, right? That's all for the day, and goodbye.